I would like to draw your attention to the next meeting of Manchester City Council's Resources and Governance Scrutiny Committee on the 9th of February 2021. This will feature a discussion of Climate Emergency Manchester's petition campaign for a 7th Scrutiny Committee dedicated to climate policy and implementation. In January 2021, the existing 6 scrutiny committees held meetings. We asked, 1. What was the level of scrutiny like? And 2. What did we learn about Manchester City Council's response to the climate emergency? Council finances are in an uncertain situation, but not as dire as once was predicted. Spending is still planned. This is worth remembering, if, or when, we hear that there is no money for the climate emergency. At the Resources and Governance Scrutiny Committee meeting, the Councillor for Burnage asked a question about retrofitting Manchester's existing housing stock. The query was sound, a fear that there was insufficient investment planned for the huge but necessary task of retrofitting Manchester's existing housing stock. But the key point is this question has also been raised recently in other committees. This scattered approach to policies addressing the climate crisis with the same questions briefly popping up in different meetings, rather than in one sustained forum with clear accountability, means we will remain stuck in Groundhog-esque cycles of inaction. Over at the Economy Scrutiny Committee, came an explanation that there was not enough money to carry out the planned retrofitting of existing homes to meet zero carbon targets. Shockingly, this wasn't discussed in the meeting. This is just not good enough. Imagine for a moment an agenda of devastatingly urgent climate items being discussed with the same urgency as the Communities and Equalities Scrutiny Committee agenda items were discussed. For instance, the Councillor for Fallowfield made reference to Manchester City Council's commitments to Zero Carbon City and how this needs to work in conjunction with its other strategies. Commitments, reports and strategies do not exist in isolation and require effective and accountable joined-up thinking. Climate breakdown is a current and future health crisis. A global pandemic is raging. Our healthcare system is in crisis and the Health Scrutiny Committee has a huge remit and tight budget to contend with. These meetings conspicuously lacked reference to the aspirations emitted by Manchester City Council in its own climate emergency declaration. Despite the desire for a low-carbon city being prominently profiled across meeting reports and supplementary agenda, but we don't doubt that a 7th Scrutiny Committee dedicated to climate policy and implementation could activate the joined-up thinking so desperately needed. Daniel Headspace, reporting for Climate Emergency Manchester.